Hello everyone, we do have our second game here on the channel, and it is Manor, which is, very popular game and is all over YouTube, and I know that, but I did want to try to bring it out a little bit. And the reason for that is we are playing with the beta, and I'm a history teacher by trade, also a special education teacher, but history is my passion. I love working with students, love seeing, the growth and trying to be a part of that growth and understanding that they have of the world. But if life or fate gave me the chance to be like a history professor or just like to help out with like touring, countries and doing historical research, like that would probably be my dream job, right? But so, anyways, the Middle Ages, medieval period, long been my favorite period in history. Uh, kind of up and through like the Renaissance, and that's why CK3, EU4, now EU5, maybe even like Victoria 3, and to some degree Rome, Emperor of Rome. Basically until like the 1900s or the early 1900s. That is the time I am most fascinated. So basically, almost before the time I was alive. Right now, I was born in the late 1900s, but so I'm not that terribly old. But apologies for that. My point is, the world before me, right? The world before I kind of came into being, so to speak, fascinates me. This world fascinates, like modern day fascinates me as well. Don't get me wrong. It's just, um, that's kind of cool. Um, the orange on the blue, orange on the green. I don't really like. Orange on the red's interesting, but no. Orange on the white, kind of like that. We'll go with that. Um, change your portrait a little bit. Lawrence. Well, if he wasn't so old, I'd go with this guy, but there we go. We'll go with Toman. Nickel. We'll go with the House of Nickel. Right, that'll be our crest, our portrait. We're going to be on default setting, so you do have the dramatic valley, Devil's Hill, jagged cliffs, divided Lake Lem. Large lake covers the center of the area with many regions surrounding it. High peaks, a dramatic valley surrounded on two sides by impassable steep mountains. A river, Devil's Hill, filled with rocky cliffs and valleys. Divided, small mountain range divides this map in two with multiple regions on each side. So we'll be in the dramatic valley. Angles, domination, AI, opponents. How many can we have? We'll say two. Yeah, the off-map adversary. We'll go three. Well, three AI opponents. The off-map adversary will be off radar frequency media. Radar freely years two. Batting caps. Sure. We'll start with a fractured realm. Four major families were granted rights to settle these lands with too many claims and too little space. Ambition brews, alliances will form, betrayals will sting, and war seems inevitable. So as the way we are obviously going to start out here in our Manor Lords save. And the goal is obviously to build up your manor, create, kind of become a feudal lord. You start out as a lord, but you don't become, king or, create a kingdom compared to just having, a very tiny manor system. Build up your town, your manor, and when ready, press claims towards regions owned by your opponents. Once a claim has been pressed, be ready for battle. I'll unite these lands under my rule. Getting started, families require supplies and living space. Supplies consist of food and fuel. Can be monitored in the region panel at the top of the UI. Living space is primarily increased by building or expanding burgage plots. Food will spoil rapidly if not stored in granaries. Similarly, goods may take weather damage if not stored in a storehouse. Um, Alright, so let's zoom out here. The region view shows who controls each region and each region's resource deposits. Got it. So we have stone, wild game, berries, iron, and clay. Now the stone is going to be very important. One of the first things we do want to build up though is they fell nearby trees to produce timber, which is then stored on site. So the road does get placed, so we are going to build the logging camp under construction. We're in the spring, so theoretically the berries could grow, as could the wild animals. The affinities are teeming. They also have clay, stone, fish, which I actually like a little bit more, mushrooms, and iron. We're going to try to rotate here a little bit. You can see our adversaries look like they're all kind of centered down here, which kind of works out for us. So the map view is going to be upside down, but I feel like this is a little bit easier in terms of you know, the viewing, right? We're also going to want to connect the road there. So currently we have -5 housing and we have 5 unassigned families. Now once we build the logging camp, of course, we will have a assigned family. So we will have only 4 unassigned families. We also don't have, we would need a granary and a storage for our goods. And of course we also need housing. So we'll actually start building a road off that way. And that's where we're going to start building our burgage plots. And then maybe put the market kind of somewhere in the middle here. So you can adjust the how high the priority of each building is. Seasons, the game speed. Seasons can affect the availability of resource deposit. We understand that. So with that being said, I do feel like the berries and the wild game will probably build both a, what would that be? Not farming, but it's a hunting camp and a forager hut. They both take 2 lumber. Now but we'll have 1 family in each, right? So like when the berries are growing, we'll harvest the berries. Then maybe like during the winter months, we'll get the game, right? We're also going to need a firewood cutter. You can go advance here and say you're going to work in that area. And you can see we now have a side of family. So now we only have 4 unassigned families. We have 6 timber left. A forager hut will has a free relocation and needs 1 timber. Berries for wild berries, mushrooms for wild mushrooms. Makes sense. So I don't want to put it all the way over here, right? But I'm going to try to place it here, if I can. And now we have a road. Because we want to try to start producing our food, right? And then we'll obviously build road a little bit. Okay, that would cause migration. So we could also build our kind of hunting and gathering right there. So that we can be our main food production area for a while. Obviously, as we get more and more people, we get more and more needs and begin to advance more and more, we will start farming. Which, speaking of that, we can go ahead and... Actually, I think we can probably just... that's not what I wanted. There used to be a way. I'm sure there still is. Okay, specialized regions. Okay. It says it's coming soon. So the game is still very much in development. And this is actually a public beta version of the game. So I know when you select on like the well, which your people need, right, it'll show you where the water is. So you can see we have a decent amount of water kind of over here, a little bit down here in our region. And so when it comes to fertility, so like you can see here, fields and better lords need to be quite large to be effective, about 1 morgan, but also take long to plow by hand. Remember to check the ground fertility, as not all crop types behave the same. So you can see down over here we have some decent fertility. Same here, obviously not great down there. We can also have a sheep farm, a pasture, a farmhouse, a windmill, a communal oven. And again, like, the only bad part about all of that is that obviously it requires people and it requires workers, and you know, we obviously start out in a position where we don't have a lot of that. So we definitely are going to have to grow our little manor and our little village here. So we do have our forager hut. We're going to put our work area kind of over there. We now have a family. We have 7 timber. So now a well does take 1 timber. So we'll actually put a well right there. So we're not going to need a worker for the well, but don't want to relocate. We are a forager. Okay. So they are actually going to walk all the way around. Can we build a road? So we can't quite build a road connecting it directly to the forager's hut, but we can build a road here, and then that road will take up a little bit less time, hopefully. I mean, maybe it won't, I don't know, but that is the hope, right? That it'll take them a little less time then to. We have cosmetics, residential, the Burgish plot. If the plot is wide enough, living space can be expanded. If the plot is long enough, a backyard extension can be built. We need 2 lumber. Alright, it's too small. So that is going to be our first Burgage plot. I'll take 2 lumber. Currently we have 6. We do just have the 1 oxid, so the berries are growing, which again is kind of why we're trying to collect them right now. Alright, the army, we don't have one of those right now because you will get raided. Other people can declare war on you. And so this is where you come in with your manor, right? Which we would need 20 planks and 15 stone. Where you and your retinue reside, enables various forms of taxation, gains 250 influence on the first construction, provides a starting retinue for free. We can assign families to be servants, where they both live and work in the manor. Then we can also build a siege camp. So that's where the stone definitely becomes a valuable resource. Now, we're going to want to have a market, a granary, and a storehouse, right? Storehouse is 2 lumber, granary is 2 lumber and 10 stone. Trading post is 4 lumber, hitching post. We also have a pack station. And then we have a livestock trading post. So obviously, like, one of the, I don't want to say one of the issues, but one of the reasons that lumber is so important is, of course, a lot, essentially, is going to be built by lumber here in the game, right? A lot of wood buildings. So that is going to be one of the primary issues, moving forward is how do we have enough lumber, right, to have these buildings. Now once they get built, obviously it's less of an issue, but the expansion and construction, that you have the firewood and everything else, and then potentially the trade, all of that matters. So we are building our first Burgage plot. So we have 5 families. And you can see you do have 100% stability at the moment, 50% approval. All of that matters. You can see we have 17 months of food, 2 berries, 15 wheat bread, and we have 20 firewood but no charcoal. So again, firewood's going to be a real thing that we need to have. So it's a Burgage plot level 1. And of course, and you can see, we could construct a backyard extension where we could have vegetables, chicken coop, which would require silver. We could have a bakery, a blacksmith workshop, a brewery, and all of that depends on the level of your burgerage. You could have pork, the apiary, which has honey and wax. So we do have four homeless families. I'm sorry for laughing, but and it is. Can we see who lives here? What family is this? Albrecht, Jorg, and Grethen. So our woodcutters family is who lives there. We have 8 timber, so we will build a second burgage plot. So it is big enough for a backyard extension. But we don't have the planks? I'm guessing that's what that's supposed to be. You can see berries are at 40 out of 50. See, currently we have 4 berries. I would think berries you could also turn into dyes, if I remember correctly. So if we go to the industry, we have a malt house, a tannery, weaver's workshop, rubble stone and a mortar. We have a stonemason, we have a clay furnace, we have a smithy, we have a bloomery, and we also have a charcoal kiln, which increases fuel efficiency. Do we not have dye? I thought you used to be able to turn it into dyes. You do have a corpse pit, small tavern, a marketplace. Provide space for the market stalls, which are supplied by an active granary and storehouse, will distribute goods to the burgage plots. And of course, you have to have extra housing in order to have people moving in. Like, they don't just show up if you don't have enough housing. So it's like you don't just magically get like homeless people showing up, which is good, right? You know, you wouldn't want that. So one of the first times I played, I played for several hours and we got invaded because we didn't really have enough influence, and then everybody else, the off-map adversary, kept taking over regions, and then his retinue and army was just so much bigger than mine because we had waited so long to try to build up the manor. So that's something we're going to try to do differently. I mean, we currently have 20 rubble stone, we have no dress stone, and we have no planks. Now, as our housing situation improves, our happiness should also go up. But we also, again, we don't have we don't have a market, we don't have a granary, we don't have a storehouse. Those are all things we're going to want to have as well. And that's where, again, the people really matter because, okay, we have 3 families right now. Granary and storehouse, that's each one. All right, so that leaves 1 free family. Well, we're going to need firewood in the wintertime. There goes that. And then we're going to need planks to obviously, apparently build the backyard extension and the manor. So we do have our second burgage house has been built. Summer's coming soon. We are in March, so we do have time right before we would need the firewood. The homeless people's tents. I mean, obviously, hopefully, once we are able to get enough houses where we don't have, any more homeless people, hopefully we'll be able to build, right, burgish plots on both sides of the road. That'd be the goal. Um, the 97% stability. We have food for 2 months, fuel for 9 months. Put our third burgage plot down. Nice visual here of the rain. Still at 50% happiness, although I do like how you can see, we're not very happy about the approval, right? It's not happiness, but I don't want to see this. I'm trying to see. Right, we're not happy about the lack of market access, it looks like, which I understand. Family members have joined one of the settlers, burgage plot level 1. So who lives in this house? In this house we have our forager. So our employed people move in first. I mean, that makes sense. Right, that does make sense. I'll put the work area over there now because this area looks like most of the larger trees. Exposed stocks are getting soaked supplies. I understand. I'm not happy about that, don't get me wrong, but I am trying to just, to begin with, have the majority of our people have a house, right? Now, you could argue, should have built a granary and a storage first. Okay, maybe. I'm not going to disagree with that too much. I think there's some validity to that. I just like trying to build houses that our people know that they have a place to call home and then kind of move on from there, right? So pretty soon we'll be wrapping up the episode. I do love the weather mechanic. I think that's just, kind of insanely fun. That's clay, which we'll obviously need, but and we have 7 timber, so we're going to put the road here and kind of start having it go out this way a little bit. Granary takes 2 timber and 10 stone. Storehouse just 2 timber. We only have 20 stone to begin with. But I'll put the granary here because it's a little bit shorter distance from the 2 food buildings when we get them going. You can see we're down to 36% happiness, or approval 37% now. You can see we have 4 berries. Spoilage is medium. And that's why we're building the granary first as opposed to like the storehouse. Gives us the ability to, store our food. I feel like, while we definitely have, other needs, storing food is, a little bit more pressing than the ability to store, supplies, right? Because we have 7 timber, 10 rubble stone, 9 tools. We don't have any, we don't have much. I mean, the tools, I guess, getting wet would not be ideal, but stone and timber getting wet, we really don't. Doesn't really have as much of an impact, right? Or you wouldn't think so. We are up to 40% approval. And again, once the granary is going, I believe that'll take a family. So again, we'll be down to just 2 free families. We'll need a storage building, a market, and a firewood cutter, I think, are the main things we're going to need right away. One of the neat things, though, I will say about the game is like when you have a market, the families of your industries have they create market stalls. So then they will deliver the goods right to the burgage plot. So what I want to do with this road eventually is kind of build it, kind of like this, if you can follow the mouse, right? And then have like a market here. I think potentially having the manor down here, right? Kind of like on the main road coming in. And then we'll have eventually, of course, we have iron down here, but we'll also have some farming maybe going on over here, maybe down here a little bit. So we do have the granary, right? We'll assign a person. Family requests more market area for their stall, right? The granary. But the good news is that our food supplies are now going to be out. You can see who is this. Cunard is transporting the wheat bread to the granary. I mean, the graphics and sounds and the way the game feels is just incredible. So he can only not grab one of the wheat bread. All right, we have 7 timber. So we'll go back to our residential buildings. And that will be our 4th burgage plot. And then we'll obviously have our 5th and then our 6th. And then we'll be able to build like a little road here, kind of create a little bit of a neighborhood. And then be able to create other neighborhoods down here in this area as we move further and further into the game. I believe the market is free. Maybe I'm incorrect about that. You can see we have the church marketplace. Yes. A well-supplied marketplace is the lifeblood of your settlement. Place the flexible plot of the marketplace. Granary and storehouse workers will set up market stalls automatically. Select the marketplace to check your supply demand and supply capacity. Burgage plots closer to the marketplace get their residential requirements fulfilled first. Makes sense. You can prohibit goods from being supplied to the marketplace in the advanced tab. Okay. Well, really, I'd. Hmm. And yeah, actually, I think I will put the marketplace here because as we build more neighborhoods down in this area, it'll give us a chance to. Can't fit there. Okay. Um, because we have the supplies. Okay. Okay. Can put a storehouse there because then the supply pit will go away. Obviously, as we get more and more houses, and where the burgage plots built, that'll also diminish the homeless people's tents. So we have 7 berries and well, we have 8 berries now, and 11 bread. I mean, I guess technically we could try to get a second family to come over here for the wild animals, right? That's a possibility. We do start out with 50 silver, which is or the regional wealth, right? That's a possibility. Well, could we put the market there? I'm, I could. No. Okay. We need one more lumber, which or timber, which we have 11 of now. So we are going to move the work area a little bit. Move it over there. Which you can have an unlimited work area, so you don't have to do it the way I am, obviously. But here comes the oxen. You start with one oxen. So we're going to build this storehouse right here, which takes 2 more timber. And then we'll have one free family. Now, you need a free family in order to do construction, right? If you don't have free workers, obviously, you won't be able to construct anything. So, I mean that makes all the sense in the world. The other thing is that once we get the planks going, we'll be able to potentially build, these backyard burgish plots where we have more vegetables, and that could kind of give, fruit, a little bit of food security, a little bit of, food variety, which people tend to like, of course, and I think I will build the. That's right. No? Why is that so much shorter? I don't want it to go all the way to the road. But like, huh. No. Yeah, I want to go there. What, but why can't I? Hmm. Interesting that Burgage plot wasn't able to kind of align and be exactly the same. So we are in April now. We do have 9 timber. We have 9 tools. Got 14 berries, so the berries are definitely being harvested, which is good. Now they are still growing. All right, so I don't know, right, how well a population of just solely. What is she doing? Oh, she's taking firewood. Yeah, we're definitely going to need to get that going as well. Um, so we're going to build this burgage plot, build a storage, try to build a 6th house to get another family to move in, and then build firewood. Or what is it called? It's not called firewood. It's called a woodcutter's lodge, right? Although I guess we really don't need one right now because we're in April, but at the same time, in terms of the supplies, it is something people like. So we are up to 45% approval. Um, we do have. Oh no, we don't have a market built yet. That's right. So we would need to build a market as well. I was gonna say, but the storage will help us get rid of the supply issue here of them being exposed. And then hopefully we have enough space over here then, although with the hitchy post I don't know, to be able to build the marketplace over there. There is just enough space in this burgage plot to have a backyard extension, so we're not entirely out of luck in that regard, but it's not quite as big as the others at the same time. So all the red alerts, at least initially, are going to go away here, right? Our people are no longer homeless. We'll have all the supplies will be collected, and there'll be a place for them to be stored. We'll have a marketplace, which should help people in terms of their happiness. We have access to water. It's not the greatest village in the world, but it's a start. Stocks damaged by weather supplies. Well, we don't like that. We are now a small village, right? We no longer have homeless people. Storehouse. We'll build right next to the granary. And I think we can build our market now. Uh, 11 available market stall locations. Okay. So we are going to have a marketplace. We are going to have a storehouse here in Nuslo. Um, the foragers, you can see Coonrod is constructing. And we're going to have a little market stall. We are running out of fuel. So it doesn't look like much, right? Doesn't look like much. I understand that, but and you can see we definitely are going to need the. We'll move them kind of back there. New mercenary companies are available. We don't have enough fuel, which I am aware of. Like I know that's a problem. We kind of talked about how that might become a problem. So Woodcutter's Lodge, one tool, one lumber. You can see a tree get cut down there in the background. We're going to put that on very low priority, but we will connect it to the road. And here the storehouse we have on high priority, which should be done here pretty soon. Let's see, we have a little granary worker here peddling Grethen. You can see she's got 2 berries and 3 bread. So we'll get this storehouse done. Alright, then those supplies will be used up. We'll then build a 6 burgage plot to try to get another worker to move in. Which, I don't know, what will we use that worker for? Because we're going to need more stone. We're going to need planks, both for the manor and... Because we have 10 rubble stone. How much does this cost? 15 stone, right? So we're just going to need stone in general. Now, if we did planks... Yeah, if we did planks, we could build some of the vegetables, right? As backyard, the very basic backyard extensions. Get a little bit more food variety that way. We'd have berries and vegetables. No bread or meat. And I mean, meat was more of a delicacy in the Middle Ages. Not everybody, they ate it more than, modern history sometimes suggests. But at the same time, it was not eaten, that often by everybody. Resources have been added to the... We have a new message. A strong militia is paramount to the survival of any settlement. Luckily, a shipment of weapons has just arrived, and you will now be able to create your first militia banners to serve you and protect your people. However, we will need more weapons to equip all the people as the settlement grows, either by making them or importing them from trade. From other lands, sorry. We got 20 weapons and 20 shields. Large shields and spears. So we have spearmen, essentially. You can see we are down to just the one free... Oh, crap. Oh crap. Um, yeah, we're gonna have a problem here. Uh, well, we'll have a woodcutter's lodge, but we don't have to assign a family right away, right? We could build the sixth Burgage plot. Okay, okay, we'll do that. Because I was just like, uh-oh, we're not gonna have anybody to build because we're down to one free family. But we're gonna be able to avoid that issue. Right, so all of the supplies are taken up. All of our families are now housed. We don't have enough construction materials. Yeah, we do. We've got tools. We've got 8 tools. We're okay there. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Burgage plot. It's another very interesting looking one. But we have 2 timber and then we have 1 extension space. But we will wrap the episode up before we get that done because we don't actually have anybody to live there currently. But as soon as that person does move in, well, actually, we could have our woodcutter get started working before they move in. But that would be our free family. We're trying not to cut down the trees over here where the wild animals are, right? I mean, I don't know if it really matters a ton, but that's what we're trying to avoid doing. I would assume it matters, but I don't know that it does. And then as soon as this Burgage plot gets built, we will employ people in the woodcutter's lodge. Because it is May, we are out of fuel, right? We have no fuel. And then whenever we do hopefully get our sixth family, they will be able to come in and they'll be our new builders. And then the question is, do we go get stone or try to create planks? Because again, I think we do planks first. Because that is what's going to help us, right? Because, yeah, that looks... we could build orchards right away. We don't have any exposed stock. So I don't understand what you're talking about, exposed stocks. We don't have any. We have a food stall and a common goods stall. Berries are still 47 out of 50. They're still growing, so we're doing okay. I know we don't have enough supplies. We're at 57% approval. We'll build this Burgage plot, then that'll be the last of the episode. So I think we do planks first, which will help us be able to build the extensions of the Burgage plots. Then stone, then the manor. And then maybe a hunting place and some of the other buildings at that point. right? And the manor again will go down here. Can maybe like have the church and the cemetery kind of over here, maybe right next to the manor, between the manor and some of the village. I'm not entirely sure about that, but that's what I'm leaning towards, of where I'm leaning towards putting it. Could always change, right? But that's where I'm leaning. We just need one more timber, and then we'll get our woodcutter's lodge up and running once we're able to get that last burgage plot built. Now we could, you know, for the plank building, theoretically, we could shut down the logging camp and then, have the worker work at, creating the planks, but or the saw pit, right? But at the same time, and you can also have a forester set where you plant saplings, right, to help the trees regrow, which is important, right? Because obviously we're using up a lot of lumber right now, or timber as the game calls it, and we're going to continue to do so. So the iron obviously would help us when it comes to building, weapons and whatnot, because currently we have just spearmen. I do love, like, just again how the game looks, right? You have the people actually sawing and hammering. And that will be our sixth house. So we have a little neighborhood of 6 houses. And yeah, it's a start. It's not incredible by any stretch. We have our little market, we have our well, we have our storehouse and our granary. We're gathering berries. I'm sorry that it's heavier than it looks. Apologies for that, my man. We're going to try to fix the fuel situation. You can upgrade your burgage houses eventually, but as of right now, we're not really in a position to worry about that too much. I think other families, like if you do, I think more families can live in each burgage plot, but I do kind of like the idea of, hey, this is our house, this is your house, right? I know that kind of became more of a modern invention in some ways, maybe, but also maybe not, right? Property ownership was always a thing, usually for the upper classes, but I'm very excited that this is about done, and then we will put our worker to work in the woodcutter's lodge, and that'll be the end of episode 1. Thank you, everybody. We are in May. We might get to June potentially by the time the episode precisely ends, but in about a month or so of gameplay. Yeah, we'll kind of zoom out here. Let's see, this is an adversarial place. Wow, they have just burgage plot. They have a granary, logging camp, storehouse, saw pit, burgage. Yeah, I mean, we're roughly on pace with them. I think we're kind of on pace with. We seem to be on pace with the AI, which I do appreciate. Right? Don't want to fall too far behind, obviously. So we did get that last burgage plot done. Doesn't look like it's big enough to have an extension, unfortunately, but we are going to put our worker there. It does take a tool a year, so we have no free families right now. So hopefully, like maybe by June, since we do have that one free house, a free family will come in. Don't know for sure, but we are going to start working out the full fuel situation. Hopefully, we're able to build some of that up before winter comes. In the late fall. I do think the next building will be for planks. So for our houses that do have the ability for the backyard extensions, we're able to do that. And then we'll come down here and do a stone quarry, then try to build up a manor house, again, roughly right around here. Church, when we eventually, church, tavern, maybe like the burial will kind of go in this area. um, a little bit, or maybe we'll keep building houses and they'll go down here. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly. We'll have to figure out. I do know trade will kind of go down here where it's kind of connected to what the king, I think they call in the game the King's Road. Thank you again, everybody. Stay safe, take care, and I will talk to you all later.